Welcome to the Revenue Pulse Adobe Summit 2025 recap. I have Matt Tonkin, Lauren McCormack, and Lucas Gonçalves here with us to talk about their experiences at Summit this year. We are going to cover a couple different items here, focusing on sort of the main themes and our sort of overall general feedback and thinking as we're leaving Summit, what we're seeing as the overall direction of Adobe, the roadmap specifically for Marketo Engage, but among other things. And then we'll dive into some of the parallel product discussions and take it from there. So hang tight. We'll definitely cover the areas I think you're most interested about as we dive in. So I'm going to put it out to the group. What do you feel like if you had to pick, let's say, one or two main themes from Summit this year? What was it?
Absolutely. Agentic AI, I think, was the main theme. Like almost all the keynotes were related to AI in some sort or form, presenting the innovations or really showcasing what they can do. It is very interesting, the idea that Adobe is putting to agentic AI, at least in this first wave, I believe, because they are using AEP, the Adobe Experience Platform, as the foundation for every marketing app, and they are building these agent AIs in AEP. So they will relate to different apps, but you'll be able to access them through AEP, and they will live there. Especially for Marketo, the journey one is the most interesting, I believe. What do you think, Matt and Lauren?
Yeah, I definitely was on the same stream of thought as you were, Lucas, where everything kind of changed, over the last couple of years, really AI coming into the forefront and seeing Adobe's projections for the next couple of years and how AI would being used. And really this year seeing finally some of that come into actionable structure and in a cohesive way, I think. And this is outside of Adobe too, but I think really over the last 2 years as AI and playing around with it, trying new things out has really picked up. A lot of that is cobbling together our own methods and processes from different platforms and different systems and trying to bring it into one. And now, you can really see where Adobe's pushing to have that type of synergy. I don't want to use that word, but synergy within their own platforms so that
Yeah.
it's sort of within one ecosystem for sure.
What about you, Lauren?
Well, I definitely think the series of 10 agent army, new developments, new agentic forces of nature that they're bringing together integrate interestingly. I think last year they talked about how personalization at scale through AI was the future, and here we see the pieces come together on the chessboard of how we're absolutely supposed to be able to use the full experience platform to be able to do this, and then sitting kind of at the top of the 10 different pieces that are available if you have the full platform. You have, the experience platform agent orchestrator kind of sitting like the director, the conductor at a symphony, trying to make all the pieces come together. Does it seem a lot easier in presentations than it will be in actual implementation? Yes. I think this is a really interesting way to present the vision to investors and the board, and I think that's what any annual show really is at this level. What I'm really eager and curious for is, to have somebody with multiple pieces of the experience, platform where we can go ahead in our client portfolio and integrate these new agents and see how we can put theory into practical application.
And I think the one of the best things of Summit is connecting with a lot of bright minds around Adobe solutions and gathering their perspectives. And I think that was a common discussion. How will this be implemented for each of the agents and for the 10 agents together? So I'm very curious to see it because, for example, the journey builder in Marketo, uh, it will build a journey for you in Marketo that your clients will go through as you could draw as a flow chart. I think a lucid chart, I think it's the right term for it. But we've seen in many different instances that people build journeys different ways. There are best practice being applied through different companies in different manners. So how will this agent actually learn from how that company prefers to do a journey and implement that? Uh, how the how will it be stamping the right fields? Which are the right fields to stamp through a journey? So these are things that I'm very curious to see and how we will be able to train those agents in the future to make them even more useful and efficient for us.
That's a really good point, because one of the things that I know I personally have always tried to sell about Marketo too is, there's 100 ways, a million ways to do like every single thing you're going to do. And the reasons you might do them one way or another vary from, little preference space to, oh, I need to do this first because some other process needs to execute. So yeah, being able to train those agents to build it how you'd build it and like think like you would think, or how, your marketing ops org has structured how you want things built.
Yeah, I think it's all about flexibility of business case, right? At the end of the day. So it sounds like the overall direction of Adobe is very focused on AI. Would you say that there's other nuance to that direction outside of sort of this architecture of agents that's worth noting?
One thing I that kind of hit me and be interested to see if you guys agreed was this slight shift from AI as like the creative and like idea maker, and focusing instead on, you know, AI taking like pre-done creativity from like human production and making that repeatable and scalable. The example that stands out to me, um, I believe it was during one of the keynotes, was essentially recreating content for different events that were at different locations. I believe it was Paris and London, these two events that, the core branding, the core content structure, and the creative input behind that was already done, and the use of AI was really around, okay, this event was for Paris. It's a very similar event, but for London. So, hey, can you quickly take all the designs I've done and just restylize them? So the skyline changed and the text changed and that. But it wasn't like they were focusing on AI being the creative driver. It was really just repurposing the creativity. And I think that, in my experience, is a lot more functional of a process for AI, as opposed to attempting to have AI, take a quick little brief and really pump out the full creative of a project.
I'm glad you said that. I was thinking, one of the points and the key takeaways that I was about to share, was the emphasis on trustworthiness and authenticity, in AI. What other brand in the world will you trust, to think about ethical AI when it comes to artwork, and how the implications around creative are so essential? It's in the brand's best interest to make sure that human beings are still at the helm of all the creative suite products that they own. And the fact that they're looking to ensure that whatever goes through their products is built with AI for good in mind. So not even just, how AI and creativity synthesize with human beings in order to ensure that we're building something ethical and authentic and trustworthy, but to your point, on brand, and that is actually supporting the mission instead of like building, an event spokesperson with six fingers. It's definitely, I think, cool to think about the collaborative ways that we'll have to coexist with this tech. And I think it was cool. I was in a session I heard, it was on female leadership and women in tech, and it was fabulous. And I had a good friend, kind of bring me to the session I hadn't even registered for, but to hear the CMO and an SVP from NVIDIA and Microsoft respectively talking about ethics in I mean, I felt like this was a wonderful time to be talking about it before it becomes too disruptive. either in marketing ops or in society. So that was definitely, I think, an unspoken theme that was kind of hinted at and upon in the keynote around authenticity and trustworthiness. But it's top of mind, I think, for a lot of leaders right now.
And my point of view, I love how they found these little spots in our productivity as workers where we were just doing manual work and finding ways to enhance that with AI instead, as Matt said, pulling away the creative work from us or the parts that we are most excited about, really. Like, I don't want its idea to ideate a journey or to ideate how I can build something. I like that part. I like architecting stuff. What I really don't like about is crafting 10 almost similar emails and putting them in specific flow steps of smart campaign. Like that's just gets very, very repetitive at some point. And looking to those creativity spots, that productivity spots, I think it is the future of AI to really embed it into our day-to-day processes instead of being something that we go to ChatGPT, a Gemini, ask questions, get a result, and then do the manual work after the result. No, we get the initial input from our brains, and then AI can help us do the manual part. And I think that is the main goal. And it's not just in Marketo, for what I could see, it's overall from campaign ideation, asset creation until the deployment being in Marketo, AJO, or whatever other platform is being used.
Yeah, for the ad platforms. I think it's the scale piece. Instead of it being the brainstorm or the director or the vision, it's the orchestration. Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I think actually, Andy, just this morning you said to me kind of the metaphor of like, I thought AI would do my dishes for me and let me, you know, play
Write a
games,
book
but
or something.
instead
It's writing a book, and I still have to do the
yeah.
Yes. They,
It
noted challenge with AI, and it sounds like they're coming into that head on.
definitely that sounds like the perspective that they've come at this with. And there's always that nervousness, especially with creative professionals, like, you know, job security risk and things like that. And I think people are realizing that there's some things that AI does really well and some things that people do really well. And that creative piece is still the domain of humans.
Yeah. I think work as AI enhanced or accelerated is really, at least in the short, maybe even midterm, our future with AI. And I love to see that coming in as an enhancement to human life as opposed to a replacement for workers. I think that's really something that's been front and center for me since, you know, RP started first exploring AI as an organization and delving into that. I think it's really a necessary, important piece. So, Lucas, you kind of alluded a little bit to the AI piece that's potentially coming in for Marketo Engage, but where's the roadmap sitting? What did you guys see? What are you excited for? What do you want to learn more about? Because it kind of was, teased, but maybe not fully explained. Like, what are the things that we can expect to see coming in the Marketo verse?
Well, I'm very excited about the roadmap. I went both to the B2B roadmap and Marketo roadmap to catch everything. And like, definitely there were more than 15 new announcements. I do not think that I can remember all of them top of head, but yeah, as I mentioned, one that I'm very excited about is actually two, the Journey Builder Agent, and actually the capability to build journeys inside Marketo. So they will release this functionality that you draw your journey as in a lucid chart instead of uh, going through concatenated smart campaigns, chained smart campaigns. You'll be able to really go and design your journey, and then the AI agent will come in and assist you if you want to make some changes. So everyone that is used to even design communications this way, because I know it's very common, it's going to be much more easier to communicate what you're doing and to transform an idea into reality in Marketo, I believe.
Yeah.
And there are many other more, but I will not steal from Matt and Lauren. I'll let you share.
Hey, well, I like your point about the journey too, because I find, especially um, users coming into Marketo in particular from other platforms where there is a bit more of a visual element to building out, workflows and processes, and even a lot of tools that, we see that are maybe not full on automation platforms, but tie in with tools. There tends to be a visual aspect to it. And we're visual thinkers generally that seeing a when you're planning out a process, seeing a path and a flow and options helps a lot. Um, I did like when I saw the image to email generation feature that they rolled out, where you can essentially import just an image of a design for an email and it would generate the template for you. It's something that I see as being very cool in the future. I don't know if it's there quite yet. I think it's just beta right now. And I don't know if it's something I'd be rolling out right away, but just seeing the thoughts that is being put in. We're talking a lot about Marketo. I think all four of us on this call are heavy into the Marketo ecosystem, but in general, it really shows you sort of what the direction process for Adobe as a whole is.
You all think of the global tokens and the trigger tokens. Lucas, I know you're stoked.
Yeah, global token and trigger tokens are very, very cool. So you'll be able to have global tokens for your instance, partition tokens too, or workspace tokens too. For each workspace, you'll be able to have them. So it'll be easier to keep every content on brand on your workspaces. And also trigger tokens. Right now you have trigger tokens for just a few actions. And they will release trigger tokens for basically every trigger. So that will make it much easier to track as interesting moments or in fields, any action that a lead uh, really makes in interacts with your brand. On the image to HTML, I think that is like very, very
Mhm.
and also Rico, and Sandy loved Rico because you're amazing. Actually, drill in a napkin an email and send to the Adobe team. Like, really, sometimes we receive this kind of things, like a very weirdly designed email in a piece of paper, and he took a picture, sent to the Adobe team, and told them, like, tell me what you get from this napkin. And it was not 100%, but I would say it's 80. So, like, if you can get from a napkin to 80% HTML, like, I'm already very, very happy about it.
Handwritten doodles, like a little stick person, logo, like little scribbles for text boxes, and then a footer. And the image to HTML reader actually could handle that kind
That's
of
really cool.
rough draft. It was
I'm gonna be a little bit of a traitor though and say that it scares me because it trends back toward marketers being in Marketo as opposed to marketers submitting and then it going through, the operations team to get into Marketo. Um, but for very lean teams, I definitely think it's powerful. It's interesting, but I will say it just there's always that I'm such a pessimist, right? There's that little bit of nervousness for me that's like, man, I've had like 100 marketers inside of Marketo messing stuff up, let's be honest, and it wasn't pretty.
Yeah, absolutely. But that goes to another announcement too. I'm happy about your pessimism, Andy, because that just made me remind of the approval workflow. So some users will not have the ability to publish any asset, and there will be like an automated approval workflow from email or everything that you'll be able to send to the right people to approve them. So even if a marketer is in Marketo, they will have a harder time doing something wrong because they will have to go through that approval workflow. I think it's a very needed thing. And I've seen it in other Adobe products, like Adobe Campaign, you can do something similar. So it took a while to get to Marketo, but it is very much needed. And I think it will be easier for those leaner teams to get the marketer to do the work where it's easier and faster in the end of the day because they won't be able to send the email even. They'll just be able to create a draft and send for the right people to approve.
talk about needed. We can finally upload images into the email editor without having to leave. Like all the pic- right? Like how many hours of your life, how many years of your life might you get back? It that had been there for, since inception, but happy it's there now and, like, super excited to see them, reinvesting in integrations with Demandbase, with Litmus, with Salesforce, doubling down on the integration there to make sure things are more seamless and easier to manage. Um, just some of the need to haves and nice to haves that I think were, meant to take us to a point where we're ready for this kind of agentic personalization at scale. Like, can you imagine trying to do multifaceted personalization at scale and having to leave the WYSIWYG and come back every time you put, you know,
Lauren, this is the second time you said agentic, and I feel like I need to go find a thesaurus. What does that mean to you? Define it. Just because, give me a moment, because my brain's not braining on that word.
or I guess it goes back to my time at Neo4j. I think of everything, in terms of Neo and the Matrix, but they're agents, man. It's AI agents at work. So it's just a fancy way. I think magenta, agenda, I don't know, maybe
Okay.
agenda.
That helps. It's just related to agency and agents. Got it. Okay.
Well,
My brain thinking it was some, like, I don't know what. Anyway, thank you.
it doesn't know yet. But, just things to unpack, right? The lexicon and the Kool-Aid, that is Summit rolls deep, but I think the integrations are cool, and I'm just excited for what they're doing with some of the functionality that's been kind of fringe, but is available to everybody. With webinars, you can slice and dice and make snackable, digestible little pieces out of your long form content. How cool would it be for us to leverage that right now with just a little soundbite, 10, 20, 30 seconds after we record this to have the platform ready and able to make that short form out of your long form. It's super exciting. The questions and answers and data from your webinar will feed to CRM much more seamlessly in the past. I've messed with spreadsheets for thousands of webinar attendees just to try and sift through to find the questions about product and pricing. It's not fun. So I'm excited to see that integration. And then Gen AI chat is now available for everybody. So having everything, all the spokes in the wheel, if Marketo is the center of the wheel, it's nice to see all of the spokes getting polished and shined up in preparation for this kind of vision, that they have for personalization at scale.
All right. So pivoting sort of briefly at least into parallel product discussions. Obviously, year before last I was there was a lot of discussion around AJO, CDP, Workfront. Where was all of that sitting? What was the hype, the focus, the promise on some of those things that maybe some people that are in Marketo are also contemplating, already have, toying with, what have you?
I've seen more discussions around AGO especially than the other two tools that you mentioned. They are. It seems that they are trying to make it more easily available for sales, the data for every buying group. So, for example, they're creating a mobile app to sales, so that for sales that they can use to get the data for the buying group before every meeting and have the intelligence to handle that meeting even better. Um, and they are also including a few agents on AJO and CDP. For example, the audience agent that can go to your database and query an audience based on your requirements for a specific campaign, and can even estimate engagement and amplify that audience based on the the desired outcome from your campaign, or can make it more strict, saying that, oh, this audience is good, but if you strict it more, you get more engagement basically, and we'll almost lose nothing expected because other people probably wouldn't engage. So these are a few innovations that I've seen come in, and very excited to try them out too.
I
Yeah, the site optimization agent I thought was really exciting too for
That
like
too.
website conversion and engagement. So this is the agentic vision, Andy, is that you have these little virtual site managers that are suggesting to you in real time ways that you can improve and up level your segmentations, your audience definitions, your reporting, your metrics, all of these little helper friends. Think of it sounds rudimentary, but remember the paperclip in Microsoft Word?
I love Clippy.
2025 edition Clippy across the platform for each
Nice.
platform.
Uh-huh.
Nice.
Think of it that way.
Nice. Nice.
And on that theme too, like you can think about it as the individual products within the platform, but yeah, the agentic piece, having these different agents sort of do the work within those. I know with Workfront, like I think the like tagline they were using this year was, is it in Workfront? Meaning like, the thing everyone says like, oh, I need you to do this. Okay, is it in Workfront? And really positioning Workfront as sort of that collaboration and centralized tool, and then having through these automated AI agents, having that collaboration sort of feed out and happen in an automated sense was one thing I definitely noticed with that. And I think that goes to the idea of like it's more like an ecosystem with these centralized agents that are really doing that communication work for us.
Yeah, another innovation regarding AI in other products that I thought was cool was the Adobe Brand Concierge, which is a web chat basically that you add to your website, similar to dynamic chat. However, in dynamic chat, it you have to approve the conversation flows. In Brand Concierge, it learns from your website, it learns your brand, your tone of voice. You can update that, and conversations are free flow. They are not predefined. So I'm very interested to see how that works too, because I know in the past AI chats were kind of uh, a laughing matter, a joke matter, but I'm excited to see how that will work out and see see if it is very, very reliable as I expect.
They're definitely becoming more realized. Um, kind of starting to wrap us up here. Let's talk about favorite sessions. What was your favorite session or a highlight from the content? What's one session that might be worth going back to that was recorded and will be on demand for audiences that weren't able to get out to Las Vegas?
I can hop in. I think one of my favorites was the true cost of a failed MarTech implementation. It
Mm.
was given by Andrea Lechner Beckner. That oh, I'm sorry, Lechner Becker. And really, it was kind of along the lines of it focused on Marketo a bit, but really any tech tool that you're adding to your tech stack and how often they fail just because of either lack of proper research or really lack of utilization and not understanding what you're actually getting a platform for. The reason it stood out to me was because so many times I've gotten into instances that just have, you know, tools that do the same fundamental process or aren't being utilized at all and are actually really powerful tools. And the conversation really stressed towards consumers of MarTech products. But I think too, having worked with a lot of MarTech vendors, it's something that they really need to think of too, especially from the concept of churn. And I've seen uh, organizations purchase tools and just not actually fully understand them. And really it does solve what they're looking to use it for, but not getting out the door quick and kind of becoming jaded with the tool. And, it doesn't work because we've had it
Yeah.
for 2 years and it doesn't work. So
Well, having a fleet of delivery trucks only works if you have a fleet of delivery drivers too,
there
right?
we go. Exactly. That's a huge point. So that was it's something that I think everyone knows, but kind of forgets to really look at the underlying causes.
Yeah. What about you, Lauren? What was your standout session that might be available on demand? Mm-mm.
Oh, can't hear you, Laura.
Her session was on mastering the maze of data.
Sorry, whose session was it, Lauren?
Carissa Russell from
Oh, no.
Rawville with Chris Kelly. They did a wonderful job about unlocking data structures and clarity, in Marketo. And I always love what Carissa brings to the stage and just to the table as an artist. Her PowerPoints are singular, beautiful moments as opposed to just a deck of slides. So it's always beautiful to see some hand rendered artwork in with some marketing ops mastery. But that was a singular and I thought special and very lovingly crafted session. I also really loved the Women in Tech Leadership Forum, getting to hear about advocacy and mentorship and what that looks like for women, at the highest of levels in the biggest of logos around the world. So that was really inspired, and I thought the candor that those presenters brought to the table was just really refreshing, especially um, in 2025.
Yeah. Lucas.
I really enjoyed Chris Willis and Josh Harrington's session around life cycle and custom flow steps. It was very practical, out of the box instructions that you can start following tomorrow. Uh, Chris focused a lot on how to get your life cycle to really stamp the data that you need to assist you on reporting the way that you need your reporting to be and to avoid step skipping. It was pretty cool. And he also taught how to use executable campaigns inside of life cycles that make them more efficient. And Josh talked about custom flow steps, specifically one custom flow step that is out of the box from Adobe if you have Adobe I/O that allows you to do Excel formulas basically in smart campaigns. So this is amazingly and assists you in a ton of different use cases, and he gave a lot of examples of things that you can do with just that one custom flow step. So I'd recommend watching that session if you have questions in any of those areas.
In the old days, we used to have to use a webhook to make
Uh,
it happen instead of Marketo. So welcome addition for those that have that parallel tool. Um, awesome. I am definitely going to go back and tap into a couple of those since I'm just now starting to catch up from Summit last week. Um, which I think really wraps us up into the final question that I have for you guys, which is what was something that was memorable or unique experience that you had this year? Lucas, I know this was your first year going to Summit through the lens of champion, right? There's a lot of different things there, but what were those experiences for you guys?
okay, I have two, one serious and one funny, and I'll start with the funny one. During Bash, some champions invited me to go ziplining. And the fun part is that I did not know what ziplining was, because English is my second language. So I didn't realize what I was going to do until I was already on my way.
Down a line?
Yeah. And I'm a little scared of heights, so the pictures look amazing. The cool part is the peer-to-peer connection. I spent a lot of time there. It is an area that Adobe advocates can talk with customers, and it was a great space to meet new people that had questions about the tool and really serve the community and help them, and also chat with some fellow champs. Some people from Adobe really enjoyed the space and meeting everyone and connecting with everyone there.
Um, oh, Lauren, I can't hear you.
Oh, we can't?
Yep, there you go.
Oh, I have a picture, Andy, of the zip lining if you want.
Oh, yes, I definitely want that for non like I won't hold it over you, Lucas, right? Like it looks sort of and non-bribery purposes. There it is. So, yeah.
It's absolutely crazy looking, and kudos, I think Karina expressed it best when she was like, "I'm proud of him for being brave," because I never would've got out on that.
Lucas, there may or may not be a video somewhere of my getting on the zip line in the 2016 Adobe Summit Fearlessness Challenges. They had a zip line. I'm incredibly fearful of heights, like very bad, very bad.
We can exchange the picture for the video. I think
There.
that's
Yeah. See, there, that's mutually assured embarrassment, right? But I was so determined that year being part of the Fearless 50 that I was gonna do all the Fearless challenges. So I ate the ants and chocolate and all the other stuff, and the zip line was my last thing, and I did do it, and I knew full well what it was. But my goodness, was I a scaredy cat getting, 15 feet off the ground, let's be honest, like, it wasn't super high, so
I was today years old when I was thankful that I never actually made Fearless 50. If they made y'all eat bugs and jump off high.
they didn't. They were little station challenges around that you could go, like, be fearless at. I just decided I was gonna do all
I am very fearful.
Like gravity. We have a people respect me in gravity. I have no need to
there it is, that's the truth. Tonkin, bring us home.
Okay, yeah. So for me personally, first one that jumps out to me, maybe a funny one too. Always have a hard time finding coffee at Summit because I mean, you have the coffee at the thing, but if you try to go in the morning before you're in there, Starbucks has like a line a mile wide. I was at the Palazzo Tower for my hotel room this year, and there's a little coffee shop, which maybe I shouldn't call out because
Big ranch.
oh, it was called like Crete, but or something like that.
Yeah, that
But it was $5 for like an extra large coffee, but it was free refills until they closed at 1 PM. So, which probably isn't good for me, but I was having like 4 a day. So that was great.
It's scoop.
Uh, but then I did have a really cool experience just while out at an event, where, it's Vegas, obviously, so someone was yelling randomly off to the side, and I looked and this woman looked as well, and we were both kind of like, what's happening out there? And anyway, that started our conversation, and it turned out she actually worked for a previous client of mine that I worked doing over 5 years ago, and we got talking about their instance and how things have grown for them since. And then we actually were able to meet the client that I actually worked with, the person that I worked with. So it was really cool. Just that's what I love about Summit, being able to meet with people, reconnect, or have those new connections if possible.
Lauren, any final thoughts before we sign off?
That's totally mine. It's the people. I got to sit with a couple of my friends, a couple amazing ladies, one that needed her crown picked up and dusted off. I needed a pep talk to go do some awesome stuff. And I'm hopeful if she's watching this, she knows exactly who she is. And I'm waiting to see what kinds of outcomes are going to come from some of the bold moves she's going to make real soon here. And another fine female friend, watching her get celebrated and to step into her power in the community and to have the community really starting to acknowledge and embrace what she brings to the table. I love that now. Just watching the synergies, helping to maybe be a catalyst for other people and to help them move forward in their careers I mean, that's what it's all about for me these days. So, um, just the people. Every year, it's always the people. The tech is great, but it's really about the people that you get to see in person.
Yeah. I think that's always been what Summit has been about for me most is the connections and the people and the things that I can learn and take back to the other people that were not there. So thank
Yeah.
you all for hopping on today to do that for our community, give a little bit of a peek behind the scenes, some teasers on some content that people should go take a look at, and a bit of a front row seat for what Adobe Summit 2025 was this year. All right. Thanks all.